Hare Krishna. We welcome all of our YouTube Live listeners and our listeners over Facebook Live. Welcome all of you to this session on Sri Gitamrita. Today we will continue on, we had completed till chapter 3, text 25 in our previous Gitamrita session. And now today we will continue from text 26 onwards from the Bhagavad Gita chapter 3. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमम् देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रये हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we will start reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3, entitled Karma Yoga. We will read from text 26 through text 35. Text 26. Na buddhi bhedam janayed ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan. Let not the wise disrupt the minds of the ignorant who are attached to fruitive action. They should not be encouraged to refrain from work, but to engage in work in the spirit of devotion. Text 27 is one of the important verses of the Bhagavad Gita. This is text 27 from chapter 3. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. Text 28. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and working for fruitive results. Text 29. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Text 30. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with mind intent on me, without desire for gain, and free from egoism and lethargy, fight. Text 31. One who executes his duties according to my injunctions and who follows this teaching faithfully without envy becomes free from the bondage of fruitive actions. Text 32. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not practice them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and doomed to ignorance and bondage. Text 33. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows his nature. What can repression accomplish? Text 34. Attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings, but one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self realization. Text 35. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though they may be faulty, than another's duties. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duty, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swaminiti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaura Katha Dhamadaya Nagara Gramatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavad Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in these 10 verses that we read today, Krishna is very beautifully speaking to Arjuna that how should we act in such a way that it does not give us any kind of reaction. Krishna is continuing that very topic. So here in text 26, we see that Krishna is saying, let not the wise disrupt the minds of the ignorant who are attached to fruit of action. Krishna is saying that the ignorant people, they are attached to fruit of action. They should not be encouraged to refrain from work, but to engage in work in the spirit of devotion. So Krishna is saying that people should not be discouraged to, refrain from any kind of work because that is going to be impossible for the living entity to be idle and say that no, I'm not going to do anything, I am not going to engage in any kind of activity. When we say that, that is against the nature of the living entity, which is anandamaya abhyasat. That is the nature of the living entity, that is the nature of the spirit soul, that they want to be happy in the service of Krishna. They want to be happy, down from the insignificant ant up to the highest of the demigods. All living entities, they are actually in pursuit of happiness. Have we ever tried to put a finger in front of an ant? When the ant is coming in the front, try putting a finger in front of the ant to block its path. It will go around the finger, because it's just looking, where can I find my eating? Where can I find my mating? That's all the ant is looking for its happiness. So to tell a living entity not to engage in any kind of work, that is going to be foolish, Krishna is saying. But people should know the art of acting in such a way that they do not cause any reaction. So therefore Krishna is saying they need to be taught how to engage in work in the spirit of devotion. Srila Prabhupada is in the purport to this particular verse, he's saying that Vedaishcha sarve rahameva vedya, that is the end of all Vedic knowledge, is that we need to understand Krishna in complete reality. We need to understand Vedaishcha sarve ahameva vedya, that Krishna is the object of understanding all Vedic literatures. That is the ultimate objective. So Srila Prabhupada says that through sense regulations, when one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness, that time the soul becomes situated in an undisturbed kind of situation. And that situation, we are able to employ ourselves in proper work with the proper consciousness so that we can offer the result of the work to Krishna. That is the beauty of spiritual science. That is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. And then Krishna says that why? Why? What is the reason? Many times people ask this question, that why do, we act in such a way? That we are forgetful of Krishna, that we act against our actual nature. Our actual nature, the nature of the soul, is to be Anandamaya Abhyasat, to be always blissfully happy. Then why do we act in such a way which makes us miserable? Why do we act in such a way? So Krishna is giving the answer to that in text 27. Krishna is saying the bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by the modes of nature. So the modes of nature, they are, there's a very beautiful painting in the Bhagavad Gita in relation to this particular verse, where it is shown that the three modes of material nature is actually just like, how puppets are made to dance. So the three modes of material nature have our hands and feet tied up to them. And therefore we are, forced to act based on our desires. We are forced to act according to the influence of the modes of the material nature. And because we are under the influence of the modes of material nature, our desire is that we want to enjoy separately from Krishna. We want to enjoy. So therefore we think that, oh, I am the doer. I am the supreme. Everything should revolve around me. The entire world should know about my glories. The entire world should worship me. They should know my glories. That is how the living entity is bewildered by the modes of material nature. That is what Krishna is saying, which is a very, very important verse in this chapter, which is text 27. Coming to text 28, Krishna is saying that one who is in knowledge of the absolute truth does not engage himself in the senses and in sense gratification, knowing well the difference between work in devotion and working for fruitive results. So Krishna is giving a perfect understanding to Arjuna. He's saying that those who are actually, having, Brahma Jigyasa, they're having the knowledge, Brahma Gyan, that yes, I know the absolute truth. For them, they know what is the difference between working in devotion and working for fruitive results. They know the distinction between the two. Both the work may be the same, but they know how to act in such a way that they do not create any repercussions, no reaction. That is the way that devotees who are in absolute truth, in knowledge of the absolute truth, act in this way. That's what Krishna is saying. Then in text 29, Krishna goes on to explain that bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and they become attached. So when we are forgetful of Krishna, when we become forgetful of Krishna because we have such strong desires for sense gratification, we have such uncontrollable desires for sense gratification. It is said that Krishna is saying that we become fully, fully engrossed in material activities, fully, captured by material activities, and thus we become attached. It's very difficult to give up that kind of attachment. But Krishna is saying that but the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. So the wise know the difference between the two, and therefore we should act according to the proper, injunction that is given. Text 30, Krishna is saying, therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with mind intent upon me, and without desire for gain and free from egoism and lethargy, fight. So Krishna is telling Arjuna the ultimate instruction, that Arjuna, whatever reasoning you were giving me, whatever explanation you were giving me, that you're not going to kill your relatives because of this reason, all of that I am negating. And therefore I am telling you that you just surrender all your work onto me and just fix your mind upon me. And without desire for gain, and free from egoism and lethargy, give up your miserly weakness, give up your laziness, your lethargy, and you become free from egoism. Egoism means what? Egoism means I am the doer. Arjuna was that was his greatest problem, that Arjuna was saying, I don't want to kill my relatives, Krishna, they are my relatives, Krishna. That's why I don't want to kill them, because I will get implicated. I will get. So Krishna is saying, get out of this egoistic mentality. Get yourself out of this equation, my dear Arjuna. That's what Krishna is telling here to Arjuna. That get free from this, egoism of this I mentality, and get free from all this lethargy, because Arjuna said, oh, I would rather just go out into this world as a beggar than to fight my own relatives. So Krishna is saying, just give up all this crazy lethargy and fight, because that is your duty. So in text 31, Krishna is saying to Arjuna that one who executes his duties according to my injunctions and who follows this teaching faithfully without envy becomes free from the bondage of fruitive actions. Very clear cut instructions Krishna is giving here to Arjuna, that if we are able to act according to the injunctions and follow the teachings faithfully, follow the teachings that we have been, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, which have been handed down to us by Srila Prabhupada, by our Guru Vargas. That these instructions were given to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. How and what kind of relevance does it have in our day-to-day life? What is the relevance of these statements in our day-to-day life? That has been taught to us by Srila Prabhupada, by our Guru Vargas, who have exemplified their own life by implementing the Bhagavad Gita into their own lives. And they are showing by their own example how to live the life with Bhagavad Gita in the center. So that is what Krishna is saying, that follow my instructions according to my injunctions. You should follow these teachings faithfully. And a very, very important condition Krishna is giving, without envy. You see, envy is such a negative quality. Irsha, dvesh. When we have envy, it literally blinds us. We will see in the later verses. What happens with envy? There are Shadharipus, means there are 6 enemies for the living entity. That is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. That is lust, pride, greed, envy, anger, and illusion. These are the 6 enemies of the living entity. Lust, pride, greed, envy, anger, and illusion. These are negative emotions, which anyone who possesses these, we can attest to it, that it makes us dumb in our actions. In a fit of anger, we may do things which we repent later. In a fit of, having some lustful desires. Now, whenever we talk about lust, we always relate it to, in terms of attraction to the opposite sex. But Srila Prabhupada, clarifies this statement, that he says that lust not only means attraction to the opposite sex, but lust also means any kind of attachment to material objects, money, possessions. All this is also lust, that we are lusty after these things. So that is also lust. So that is what Krishna is saying, that lust Pride. When we have pride, we feel that everybody is inferior to us. I am the only one who's the best in the world. That's what pride makes us feel. Last, pride. Greed. When we have certain things, we are never satisfied with that. We are always seeing what the others have. Our happiness, the level of our happiness is measured by how much others have and how much more than others do we have. That is our measurement of happiness. In this regard, I always remember this story that there was once a man who did great tapasya to please the Lord. And the Lord, becoming pleased with his tapasya, appeared in front of him and said, "Yes, my dear child, ask for a benediction. What do you want?" So then this man said, "My dear Lord, the only thing I want is that whatever I desire, please give me so much Shakti that I will get instant fulfillment of all my desires." So the Lord said, "Okay, tathastu. You will get instant fulfillment of anything that you desire, but I have a condition that you will get whatever you desire, but your neighbor will get double of what you have asked. Is that okay?" So then the man said, "Yes, yes, my Lord. As long as I get what I want, I don't care what my neighbor has. Even if he gets double, triple, doesn't really matter, as long as I get what I want." So the Lord said, "Fine, tathastu, my dear child." So then, as soon as the Lord disappeared, the first desire of this man manifested. And he said that I desire that I have a big palace, a 3-story palace is what I want. I desire. So immediately, boom, there was a 3-story palace in front of him. That was his home. But then he just looked to his right and he saw that his neighbor had a 6-story palace. Because the Lord said that whatever he will ask, the neighbor will get double of that. So as soon as he saw the 6-story palace of his neighbor, he just held his heart. Oh, but it's okay. I got my 3-story house. He went inside his house. And then the next thing he desired was that he said, "I want 6 of the best, the topmost cars in the world. I want 6 of them. Brand new ones." And boom, 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 boom. All of the 6 cars were standing in a row in front of his, 3-story palace. So he came out to inspect his 6 cars. And lo and behold, he just looked over his right side and he saw that his neighbor he now has 12 cars. And he was like, "Oh no, my neighbor has 12 cars. Not fair. I have only 6. Not fair, not fair." Then he desired that may I have, 3 universities that are named after me. And boom, 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 there were 3 universities that were named after him. Then he saw that, his neighbor had 6 universities named in front after him. So every time this was happening, he was catching his heart. "Oh, this is so terrible. No, I don't like this. I don't like this." So then he thought of a plan. He said, "Okay, my dear Lord, now I desire that may I go blind in one eye." So the Lord fulfilled his desire that he actually went blind in one eye. But then when he came out into his garden, he looked on his right and he saw that his neighbor was blind in both the eyes. He was going like this in the garden, and that satisfied him. So what is the measurement of our happiness? This is something that we need to ask ourselves. We very seldom tend to be happy when others are happy. Rather, we are not happy when others are happy. And when others are miserable, we are very happy at that. This is the naked truth of this Kali Yuga. Paro dukhe shukhi. This is the way that this world is running. That in others' misery we find our happiness. How much envy we have towards others. How much envy we have towards others. That our measurement of happiness depends on how much more we have than our neighbors. That is the measurement of our happiness. not be satisfied with what we have. Never be satisfied with what we have. That is the nature of this world. So, lust, pride, greed, envy, then anger. In our anger, we just tend to destroy everything. In our anger, we don't even know what we are doing in our anger. So much anger we get afflicted by. There was once a sadhu who came to visit a village. And in this village, there was once a man who had a very beautiful family. But this man went to this sadhu and said that, my dear sadhu, I have a very nice family. But my family members, they complain one thing about me. And their complaint is that every time I get angry, I just create a havoc in their life because I don't think properly. I just don't think properly at that time. My rational way of thinking is lost. So what can I do? Please, my dear sadhu, help me to control my anger. So the sadhu thought for a while and he said, okay, next time you become angry, take a nail, nail, and go into your backyard with a hammer and then just hammer the nail in the wood fence of your backyard. So this man said, okay, Sadhu Baba, I will do that. So next time he got angry, instead of venting it out on his family, he went into the backyard and he started hammering, the nail. So this hammering went on, and slowly it was seen that his entire fence in the backyard of his house was filled with nails. And next time he got angry, he found that there was no other place that he could put the nail. Every inch of the fence was occupied with nails. So then the sadhu came back again. He went running to the sadhu, that Sadhu Baba, you gave me this thing, but now there is no place. Where will I go and put the hammer in the nail? Where will I do that? So the sadhu said, now you don't have to hammer the nail. What you do is you turn the hammer the other side. One side of the hammer has the like the round thing where you hit the nail. The other side has like a corkscrew kind where you can pull out the nail. So next time you get angry, go into the backyard and use the other side of the hammer and pull out the nail. So then this man said, okay, Sadhu Baba, I will do that. So next time he got angry, he would go and pull out every nail. He would do that. So then one day the sadhu visited his house and he said, look at this fence, how it is. Is it any more considered? Can you call this a fence anymore? That look at what is the condition of the fence. There are so many holes where you have put the nail, that place has become dented without any repair. So you should think that when you get angry at your own family, that you are actually hammering a nail in their heart by becoming angry at them. So anger, so this man immediately realized his mistake. That yes, this is such a dangerous thing to do. Anger can really take us to the path of hell. Because in anger, we lose our rational way of thinking. We don't think properly. So therefore, this sadhu, by this practical experience, he taught this man how to overcome his anger. So like this, these 6 enemies that are considered for the living entity, they're very, very dangerous. Lust, pride, greed, envy, anger, and illusion. And 5 out of these can be dovetailed in the service of Krishna. We can engage them in the service of Krishna. Lust can be transformed into love. Pride can be transformed into humility. Greed can be transformed into generosity. Anger can be transformed into tolerance. An illusion can be transformed into our actual developing of our consciousness, where we realize that we are eternal servants of Krishna. But one thing can't be dovetailed or can't be used in the service of Krishna, which is envy. Envy is such a dangerous quality to have, negative quality to have. Because envy, it cannot be used in the service of Krishna. Cannot be used. Like even anger, Hanuman, he was so angry at Ravana for kidnapping Mother Sita. In his anger, he burnt down the entire Lanka. He did that. But that is, Hanuman is glorified because of that anger. So like this, all the emotions can be dovetailed and used in the service of Krishna. But envy is such a thing that cannot be used in the service of Krishna. We have to uproot it from the root. And that is why Krishna is stressing here in this particular verse. In text 31, he's stressing that one who follows these teachings faithfully without envy becomes free from the bondage of fruit of actions. It's a very important thing that in our Bhakti Lata Bij, along with our Bhakti Lata Bij, the creeper of devotional service that is sown in our heart by the mercy of the spiritual master, that Bhakti Lata Bij fructifies into a beautiful sapling. And there are many weeds that grow along with it. So this envy, the form of envy, kind of weed that is growing along with our Bhakti Lata, it has to be uprooted from the root. And even though it is uprooted from the root once, it may come again. The weed is so strong that it may come back again. And every time we have to uproot it, completely uproot it. That is the only way that our Bhakti Lata will grow strong. That is what Krishna is saying here in this text 31 of the Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 3. Moving on to text 32. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not practice them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and doomed to ignorance and bondage. Krishna is saying, what is the result of envy? That we may be apparently following any devotional practices. But if we have envy in our heart, then those devotional practices are doomed to ignorance. That is the verdict of Krishna. That such devotional practices will not take us anywhere if we are doing it with envious feelings towards others. So envy is something that we have to take care at every stage of our devotional life, at every moment of our devotional life. We have to gauge ourselves that, am I being envious? When others are getting some mercy, when others are getting such, amazing opportunities to serve, are we feeling envious? Are we feeling that, oh, why are they getting and why am I not getting? Are we doubting the mercy of Krishna? That should never ever come in our mind. Because if it does, then we are doomed to ignorance and bondage. We must remember this. That this is Krishna's verdict, it's Krishna's statement. That if we are acting out of envy, even though we may be following these teachings and practicing them regularly, Krishna is saying that. If we are practicing also regularly and following these teachings, but if we are doing it with an envy in our heart, then we are considered to be bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and doomed to ignorance and bondage. Very strong statement by Krishna. So this proves to us that how much caution, how much care we need to really take when we are practicing the path of spiritual enlightenment. This spiritual journey, Srila Prabhupada said, is like walking on the sharp edge of a razor. Anytime we get a little distracted, we can cut ourselves very badly. That is how the spiritual life is. So we have to be always cautious, always attentive, always depending on the mercy of Sri Guru, so that we don't get deviated even for a single moment. Because if we get deviated for a moment, then we will cut ourselves very badly. And we will be doomed to ignorance. So this is something that we must remember at every moment. And how to remember it? Srila Prabhupada says that the best way to do it is not to think that, oh, I don't want to do any offenses. I don't want to do any offenses. I don't want to be envious towards anybody. Not to think like that, but rather we should think of glorifying the devotees. Rather, we should think of serving the devotees. When we serve in this way, when we glorify the devotees, then there's no question of having any envy. Then there's no question of having ill feelings towards others. So when we are training our mind to act in a way that we are always looking for the good in others and glorify the good in others, that is what pleases Guru and Krishna. And when we do that, then Krishna will take care. Krishna will definitely take care. When we are really following the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. The Trinadapi Sunichena, a blade of grass, is thinking that, oh, there are so many people walking on top of me, I'm going to take revenge. How dare they walk upon me? The blade of grass never thinks like that. People stamp upon the blade of grass, the grass comes back up again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take away the existence of the grass just because somebody stamps on them. The grass continues to live and breathe. It's not the end of the life for the grass. The blade of grass does not even mind that when people are stepping on the grass. That is the humility of a devotee. That people may say whatever they want, it's okay. But as long as our Guru and Krishna know our integrity, that is all that matters. And that is not our pride. It is definitely not our pride, but it is the humility. That we don't have to go around, giving explanation to anyone. We don't have to do that. Time will reveal. Krishna will reveal when the right time comes. Krishna will reveal. And that time, we will see. So that is the faith of a devotee. So more humble than a blade of grass. Tolerant than a tree. The tree is always, giving so much. They're giving, giving, and giving. They're not taking anything from us, but they're only giving. So that is the quality of a Vaishnava, that they keep giving. They don't expect anything in return. Nothing in return. Tolerance of a tree. Taroriva Sahishnana. That is pleasing to Krishna. That is pleasing to Mahaprabhu. Amanina Manadena. That expecting no respect for oneself, but giving all respect to others. That is the mood of a devotee. And when one is in this kind of a mood, they will be able to do Kirtaniya Sadahari. Because the purpose of one's life is to just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And to spread this message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this message of Srila Prabhupada to whomever we come across with. So however Krishna wants to use us as instruments, we are just humbly presenting ourselves to be used as instruments by Sri Guru and Krishna. That is the mood of a sadhaka. So that's why Krishna is saying here that it is very, very important for us to act never out of envy. Never act out of envy. Because envy is such a thing, such a, it's like, just like, metals get rusty, iron becomes rusted. How? When iron comes in contact with moisture, it collects a different kind of a material which brings rust to the iron. That's how iron gets rusty. So our devotional life should not get rusted with this envy. We should keep ourselves away, far, far away from this moisture of envy, so that our pure devotional service can remain unadulterated, unmotivated, pure devotional service. Without any desire, we just serve Krishna and we just pray to Krishna that Krishna, Ashli Shiva Padaratam Pinashtuma. Whatever you do, Krishna, I am your sold out servant. That is the mood of the sadhaka. Which brings us to text 33, where Krishna is saying, Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows his nature. What can repression accomplish? So, Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport that unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, he cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature. So, even the most highly educated person on the mundane platform, even for them, it is impossible to get out of the entanglement of Maya simply by theoretical knowledge or by separating the soul from the body. There are many so-called spiritualists, who outwardly pose to be great, greatly advanced people. That is not the way that we, recognize a person who is spiritually advanced. Srila Prabhupada always said that we recognize a sadhu not by our eyes, but by our ears. We should listen to what the sadhu is saying. And more importantly, we should see whether whatever the sadhu is saying, is he following it in his own life? Then such a sadhu need to be followed. That is the qualification of a sadhu. That is what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. So that brings us to text 34, where Krishna is saying attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings, but one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So Krishna is saying that, what are the stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual realization is, uncontrolled senses, and therefore our senses getting attacked and attracted to different sense objects. So when the senses are not under control, then we get captivated. There was once a very beautiful article in the Back to Godhead magazine, where it is saying that what happens when the senses are not controlled. Our eyes get dragged to seeing different objects. Our nose gets attracted to the, melting cheese of the pizza. Whenever we cross from the pizza store, the smell kind of attracts our nose. Our tongue then remembers the previous experience of the pizza, and we just are, forced and, just dragged in by our senses to go into that pizza store and just buy that pizza. So like this, our senses drag us to different, sensory perceptions that we may have undergone in the past. But the process is to control such senses. That yes, no matter these attractions will be there and our senses will be pulling us in different directions. But then comes the role of the intelligence, who comes and says that no, this pizza is not being offered to Krishna. Let's go home, make a nice pizza, offer it to the deities, and take pure Krishna prasad. So that way our desires are purified. So in the initial stages of our bhakti, this is how we purify our desires. That in the beginning, we may not do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna, like the way the Brajbasis. Their life is for the satisfaction of Krishna. They do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. But for us who are just starting our baby steps in this process of bhakti, at least we can just, dovetail our desires and offer those desires to Krishna and accept it as pure prasad. That way we can keep making advancement and one day hope that by doing this Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, we will become, come eligible to render Raganuga sadhana bhakti. We will become eligible. We will come to the process of spontaneous loving devotion to Krishna. Then when we see a fruit, fresh fruit in the market, and we see that, mangoes are fresh in the season. This season we haven't offered mangoes to our deities. So then we bring mangoes, we bring lychees for our deities, and we offer it to them with love. So that day will also come. But it starts off with this day also that, my son or my daughter loves mangoes. So yes, I will buy the mangoes, but first we'll offer it to Krishna, and then I will offer the prasad to my children. That is how we purify our desires. So we see how this process of Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada has given us such details of how to purify each and every one of our senses and its sense objects, how to purify our desires, doing everything in connection to Krishna. That is the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. And text 35 ends with, "It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though they may be faulty, than another's duties. Destruction in the course of performing one's duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is very dangerous." So this is in relation to Arjuna's, argument that Arjuna had given to Krishna, that, "Oh Krishna, I will not kill my relatives, and I will, then give up my being a Kshatriya, and I will, take up the duty of a beggar, and I will, my life like a beggar, begging for food from everyone else." So Arjuna was here talking about changing his prescribed duty. So in answer to that, Krishna is giving this response, that, "My dear Arjuna, never think of changing what is there in your nature. Your prescribed duty is being decided. You're a Kshatriya. You cannot live the life of a mendicant, and go begging door to door. You cannot do that. That is not your prescribed duty." So therefore, Krishna is saying that one should render their prescribed duty, and even though it may be faulty, and rather than engage in somebody else's prescribed duty, even though they maybe do it very, very perfectly. So this is the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is saying. And then Srila Prabhupada, he's saying in the purport that, for example, a Brahmana who is in the mode of goodness is non-violent, whereas a Kshatriya who is in the mode of passion is allowed to be violent. So as such, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmana, which Arjuna actually wanted to do. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that one should not be doing such things. Of course, in Kali Yuga, Srila Prabhupada also says that in Kali Yuga, everyone is a Shudra. Kalau Shudra Sambhava. That everyone is, their prescribed duty is just that they are engaged in working for others, for their subsistence. So what is the prescribed duty for everyone in this Kali Yuga? That if we are born as human beings, our duty is to reawaken our God consciousness. That is the prescribed duty of every human being in this world. So that is our prescribed duty, as is told by Srila Prabhupada. So with this, today we end our session of Sri Gitamrita. And from next week, next Wednesday, we will continue from text 36 onwards. If there's any questions, comments, or reflections, we can take that now. We really thank all of our online viewers, and we thank you for your comments and your encouragement, your blessings. We are very, very grateful to all of you for joining in. I'm just going to check on Facebook if there is any questions. Okay, there is no questions on Facebook also. So we will conclude our session here. We look forward to your association again next Wednesday. Same time, please stay tuned. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.